90% of world's hydrogen is obtained by steam reforming process. In steam reforming process, natural gas and steam are chemically reacted to give hydrogen. However, this chemical process also releases carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, which are harmful greenhouse gases. Since these harmful gases are also released, hence such a hydrogen is not clean hydrogen. We call it as grey hydrogen. However, if we perform carbon sequestration and we capture this carbon and don't allow it to go into the atmosphere, rather we store it underground, then such hydrogen is relatively cleaner. Okay, environmentally cleaner. We are not talking about the purity, we are talking about the environmental friendly. So yes, so this process is more environmental friendly and such a hydrogen is called as blue hydrogen. However, both grey and blue hydrogen are obtained by chemical reaction of natural gas, which in itself is a fossil fuel and available only in limited quantity. To get hydrogen in a sustainable way, the only solution is electrolysis of water, that is passing current through water. Now where will this current come from? It will come from either you can burn coal or natural gas, but we should not be burning. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to use some renewable source of energy like solar or wind. From solar or wind we will get electricity, which will be used to do electrolysis of water, from which we will get hydrogen gas. Such a hydrogen gas is called as green hydrogen. How is hydrogen car different from petrol car? See, in petrol car, the source of energy, that is the fuel, is a petrol. Petrol is stored in a petrol tank in the car. The engine slowly draws the petrol and keeps on running the car. If you want to go from one corner of the country to another, you can keep on filling the petrol in the petrol tank and your car will keep on running. Electric cars are non-polluting. Petrol cars are polluting. Electric cars are non-polluting, because here we have replaced the engine with a electric motor. Your electric car has an electric motor. It has a battery which stores the fuel. Here the fuel is the electricity, and that electricity or the fuel you get from a charging point. So a petrol car was getting petrol, electric car gets electricity. Both of them store this fuel in the petrol tank or in the battery, right? Now the problem with electric car is you have to wait to charge it, right? You need to constantly charge it. You cannot go from one corner of the country to another through your electric car. So one solution is to use hydrogen car. So hydrogen cars are just like your electric car. You can think that hydrogen car is exactly the same as electric car. The only difference is that in electric car you had to recharge your battery again and again, whereas the whole recharge mechanism is inbuilt in the hydrogen car. In hydrogen car you don't have to stop somewhere to recharge the battery. So in a hydrogen car you have an electric motor, you have a battery. Now in hydrogen car you don't need to stop. You don't need to stop to recharge your battery, because hydrogen cars have fuel cell inside them. What the fuel cell does is it takes up the hydrogen and converts this hydrogen into electricity and recharges your battery. While you are traveling by your car has hydrogen. Just like a petrol car fills the petrol in the petrol tank, similarly a hydrogen car fills hydrogen in the hydrogen tank within the car, and slowly your fuel cell keeps on taking the hydrogen and keeps on recharging the battery while your car is running, right? So you don't have to wait. Just like a petrol car, you will spend just 2 minutes to fill the petrol tank. Similarly in a hydrogen car you have to wait just for 2 minutes to fill the hydrogen tank, right? So hydrogen cars are just like electric cars, but they have a on-board power station within them. Now let us look at the question UPSC had asked in 2015 on the fuel cell. So fuel cell is just like your battery. How is it different from a battery? Battery is your cell. You need to recharge it. You need to recharge it with electricity. But in fuel cell, instead of recharging it, you need to provide the fuel. So in the fuel cell, the fuel is hydrogen gas. You just provide the hydrogen gas and it will take oxygen from the air. Hydrogen and oxygen will react to form H2O, that is water. So in this process, when hydrogen and oxygen will combine, we will form water and some heat will be released. But in the process, the main thing that will happen is that some electric current will be generated, and this electric current will recharge the batteries. So that is your fuel cell. Now look at the first statement. If pure hydrogen is used, then fuel cell will emit only heat and water as byproduct. That is correct. The main product is electricity and the byproducts are heat and water. Second statement, fuel cell can be used for powering buildings but not for small devices like laptop. Wrong. Fuel cell can be big, it can be small. Like your batteries can be big or small, right? Engines, petrol tank, motor, everything. Okay, it all depends on the size. So if you're using a small fuel cell, then definitely you can power your laptop or mobile also. So second statement is wrong. Third statement, fuel cells produce alternating current. No, fuel cells produce direct current. You don't have to learn it. Please understand the concept. All batteries provide direct current. The current that comes in our homes, okay, in our houses, that is alternating current, AC. Okay, the current that comes to our homes is AC. But all the batteries run on DC. All the appliances of our house run on AC. Okay, electricity comes to our house, AC electricity, and it runs bulb and fans and everything. That is all AC. But batteries run on DC. Therefore, with batteries, we always have an inverter. We have inverter in our house. So what inverter does is, inverter takes up the AC and converts it into DC. Hence it recharges the batteries. And when there is a power cut, then this DC current of battery will go to the inverter. Inverter will convert the DC into AC and supply to the fans and bulbs. Okay, so batteries, be it a normal battery, be it a fuel cell, they always provide direct current. Hence the third statement is wrong. Only first statement is correct. To use hydrogen as a fuel, it is not necessary that you should have a fuel cell. You can also use hydrogen by blending it with CNG. Like in a petrol vehicle, we can mix the petrol with ethanol. Similarly, in a vehicle run by CNG, you can blend the CNG with hydrogen almost up to 20%. So HCNG or hydrogen CNG is simply hydrogen added to CNG. To use it, you do not need any engine modification. It improves the fuel efficiency, reduces pollution, and the good thing is its efficiency increases with load. So the load on buses is more as compared to private vehicles, and efficiency of using hydrogen, of blending hydrogen with CNG, this mixture's efficiency increases when there is more load on the engine, right? So it is more suitable for heavy vehicles like buses. Problem is that hydrogen is expensive to produce, its handling is dangerous, difficult, and obviously its production process, as we discussed earlier, most of the hydrogen is formed by steam reforming, which is not a clean process. Now look at the 2019 question about HCNG. First option says that the main advantage of using HCNG is it eliminates the emission of carbon monoxide. No, it will not. Use your common sense. Earlier we were running a bus with CNG. CNG is a fossil fuel. It is producing pollution. Now we mixed some hydrogen with it. When we are mixing hydrogen, we are still using CNG. We have reduced CNG, but we are still reusing it, right? So the pollution will still come. You cannot say that it will eliminate carbon monoxide. So first option is wrong. Second says it reduces carbon dioxide. That's correct. It does not eliminate, it reduces. So second option is correct. Third says up to 20% hydrogen can be blended. That's correct. Okay, just like your ethanol vehicle, in a petrol vehicle, you can mix up to 20% of ethanol. Similarly, in a CNG vehicle, you can mix up to 20% of the hydrogen. Fourth statement, HCNG makes the fuel less expensive. No, this fuel is more expensive. Hydrogen gas is expensive to produce and handle. Okay, so HCNG is more expensive than CNG. So option 4 is wrong. Only options 2 and 3 are correct. Electric vehicles. UPSC can ask that FAME scheme is related to what? It is related to promoting the electric vehicles in India. FAME scheme was launched by government in 2015 and its second version was launched in 2019. Its ministry is it is about electric vehicles, right? To promote electric vehicles. So the ministry should be Ministry of Road Transportation. But that is wrong. Its ministry is Ministry of Heavy Industries. Okay, it is the FAME scheme is a part of National Electric Mobility Mission Plan. UPSC can ask which was the first state in India to have a electric vehicle policy. So the answer is Karnataka in 2017. What is the main advantage of using electric vehicle? One is obviously the less pollution. Okay, they do not emit any greenhouse gases. Another advantage is the low running cost. When you run a normal petrol or diesel car, you incur a cost of rupees 8 per kilometer of the car you have run. You run your car for 1 kilometer, it would have consumed around 8 rupees of petrol. But when you run a electric car for 1 kilometer, then your electricity consumed would be worth just rupees 1. They are much cheaper to use. However, the main disadvantage is their high initial cost. So if you buy an electric car worth rupees 20 lakh, then of that 20 lakh car, almost 8 lakh rupees is due to the battery. Okay, so batteries are a reason for their high cost. Another disadvantage is their range limitation. Okay, you need to recharge them again and again. And the third disadvantage for India is that the raw materials to make them we have to import. Okay, batteries use lithium and India does not produce lithium. 70% of world's lithium is obtained from Lithium Triangle. Lithium Triangle is at the border areas of ABC, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. In South America, the three countries, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, at their border there is a triangle. Okay, this triangle produces 70% of world's lithium. India does not have its own lithium. So if we produce more electric cars, then we will have to import more lithium and other such products. Electricity. So we have Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange where companies' shares are traded. Similarly, we have a gas exchange where imported natural gas is traded. Similarly, we have some exchanges like India Energy Exchange and Power Exchange India Limited where electricity is traded. Electricity and its certificates are traded. And if that electricity you are trading in is renewable energy, then that market is called as green term ahead market. So what exactly do you mean by trading in electricity? Think like this. This is India, and in India we have a grid, electricity grid. That is a network of power lines. Okay. And now here are many power plants. These power plants generate electricity and supply this electricity to the grid. Then there are many discoms or distribution companies. These distribution companies supply electricity to your house, and every month they send the bill, right? Now these discoms get electricity from the grid. What happens is that discoms do agreements with the power plants. This discom says that I want such amount of electricity and I am ready to pay such amount of money, and different power plants will bid for this business, right? They will bid for supplying electricity to the discom. Now whichever power plant wins the contract, it does not mean that the power plant will lay a electric cables to the discom. No, these power plants are already supplying electricity to the grid, right? So they have made a contract that suppose this discom is to be supplied 100 megawatts of electricity from this power plant. They have done this contract. Now simply this power plant will supply the electricity to the grid, and this discom will withdraw the electricity from the grid. Simple. So that is what you mean by trade in electricity. So earlier such contracts were executed at least a week in advance, but now they can be executed almost in real time as well. Now what do you mean by energy saving certificate and renewable energy certificate? For example, the government of India has given a target to two companies to become energy efficient and save 5,000 units of electricity by the each company. Company A exceeded its target and it saved 800 units more electricity than its target. So, government will give company A a certificate that you have saved extra 800 units of electricity. Company B on the other hand failed to achieve its target. So, company B will pay money to company A and get this certificate to achieve its target on paper. So that is what we mean by trade in energy saving certificate. Similarly, all the discoms in India have to mandatorily purchase certain amount of electricity from renewable sources of energy. That is, assume let us say 15%. So if discom is supplying 100 megawatt of electricity to the consumers, then at least 15 megawatt should be coming from renewable source of energy. Now there are some professional companies, just like we have some power plants. Similarly, we have some, suppose this is a company which has its solar power plants. Now this company would produce solar energy and sell to the discoms, and discom will pay the money to the company. Suppose the discom is not able to achieve its 15% target. So what the discom will do is, discom will pay money to this company, and this company will in return give it to it a certificate which it has got from the government. That is a renewable energy certificate. So this is same as your energy saving certificate. Similar, not same but similar. So discoms have a obligation that they have to supply some 15 or 20% okay of electricity from renewable source, and if they are not able to fulfill this obligation, then they can purchase this renewable energy certificate. What do you mean by energy transition? It simply means that you are transiting to another kind of energy source. Earlier your car was running on petrol, now it is running on electricity. Earlier we had coal power plants, now we have more nuclear power plants. Okay, so for prelims all you have to remember is that energy transition index and energy transition initiative are both related to World Economic Forum. What do you mean by energy intensity? It simply means the amount of energy you use for a particular work. For example, we need to make a shirt. To make a shirt, okay, to make a shirt, you can either make it in UK, in England, or you can make it in India. So which country will use more electricity? Of course, England will use more electricity. Most of the processing of this shirt will be done by electric machines in UK, whereas in India, most of its processing will be done by hand, by manual labor, right? So India has low energy intensity as compared to UK. 6% of India's energy needs are met by natural gas. Of all the natural gas that India consumes, half of it we produce in our country itself and half of it we import. India's natural gas imports have consistently increased in the last 15 years. In 2004, India started importing natural gas, and the first consignment we got of LNG was in 2004 from Qatar at the Dahej port in Gujarat. Okay, so India imports most of its LNG from Qatar and also from some other countries like Nigeria, USA, Russia, and Australia. So, importing natural gas is not an easy task. You can import other products from any port, but importing natural gas, that too liquefied natural gas, requires specialized infrastructure at the seaport. Therefore, there are only handful of seaports in India which have the required infra to import LNG, and those ports are Dahej and Hazira in Gujarat, Dabhol in Maharashtra, and Kochi in Kerala. The pricing of the domestically produced natural gas in India is decided by market? No, it is decided by the government of India. And government of India, to decide this natural gas price, looks at the price of natural gas in US, UK, Russia and Canada. Just like we have a power grid, similarly we also have a national gas grid. We are trying to make a national gas grid. So in this, all the natural gas pipelines will be linked together. For example, this map shows in blue color the existing pipelines of natural gas in India, and the red color dotted lines, they show the under construction pipelines. Now once a gas pipeline reaches a city, then the next task is to provide natural gas to the houses, and for that we have PNG, piped natural gas, through city gas distribution. So UPSC can ask, PM Urja Ganga is related to what? It is related to develop natural gas infra in eastern India, basically in eastern UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Odisha, in this area. UPSC can ask, Satat initiative is related to what? Satat is sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation. So it is an initiative of Ministry of Petroleum to increase the use of biogas in vehicles. So as I had told in the earlier class that biogas has around 60% of methane. Methane is natural gas, right? So we can use biogas in our vehicles as well. Now the previous year questions. 2005 question, main constituent of liquefied petroleum gas is methane. To understand this, first see this. See, when you dig into the earth, suppose there is coal. So coal is either at the surface or very near to the surface, right? So you dig the earth and get out and take out the coal. Wherever there is coal, in most of those places, some gas is also accumulated. That is, some methane gas is accumulated. So from there we can get coal bed methane. Okay, methane or natural gas that we are getting from the coal bed. That is coal bed methane. Getting coal bed methane is not difficult, it is quite simple. However, if we dig deep into the earth and we reach some gas pockets of natural gas, then from that we will get methane. Okay, so natural gas is nothing but your methane. Please mind it, it is not pure. Nothing is pure. Whenever you are getting anything from the earth, it will never be pure. But the quantity of methane in natural gas is very high. Whatever natural gas you will get from this pocket, around 95% of this is methane. Okay, so if you want to export it to some other country through ships, then you will liquefy it and you will call it liquefied natural gas. If you are using it in vehicles, then you compress the natural gas, that is compressed natural gas or CNG. If you supply it through pipelines to your homes, then you call it as piped natural gas. So it is all natural gas or methane. If you dig deeper, then you will get crude oil. So Reliance in India will import lots of crude oil. In its Gujarat refinery, Reliance will refine the crude oil. From the refining of crude oil, we get variety of products. We get lubricating oil, wax, asphalt, Vaseline, fuel oil, diesel, kerosene, petrol, lots of things we get from refining of crude oil. In fact, most of the plastic is also made from some product of crude oil. Now in this distillation process, in this refining process of crude oil, at the top we get some gases, and those gases are butane and propane. This we call as petroleum gas because we are getting it from crude oil. So this gas is called as petroleum gas. Okay, LPG. LPG is mostly made up of propane and butane. Right? LPG is about propane and butane. Natural gas is about methane. Now look at the previous year question. Main constituent of LPG is methane. No, main constituent of LPG is propane and butane. So A is false and R is true. 2019 question. Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board is the first regulatory body set up by Government of India. No, Government of India has many important tasks before it. Okay, so petroleum will not be the, you can use it as a common sense. Petroleum will not be the first product to be regulated by the Government of India, obviously. Okay, there would be many other things as well. So first option is wrong. You can say this by your common sense, and by ruling out the first option, you will reach your answer as 2 and 3 are correct. What is shale gas? See, this was the gas that you got with coal. Near coal field is coal bed methane. The one that you got by drilling into the earth was conventional gas or natural gas. Okay, so there are pockets of natural gas, there are pockets of crude oil, pockets of coal bed methane. So these are not uniformly distributed throughout the earth. There are very small pockets where you will get these resources. However, there is something called as shale gas. Shale gas is distributed over large areas. Okay, you will say that this is a very large area, and in this large area there is so much of rock, and in these rocks in between lots of gas is restricted. Okay, it is constructed there. So what you will do is you will dig the hole, and when you to extract natural gas, you simply dig a hole and you will get the natural gas. But this does not happen with shale gas. To get the shale gas, you have to supply some hydraulic water, you have to supply some hydraulic pressure, and after supplying that pressure, gas will be released from these rocks, and then you will have to bring that gas to the surface. That is your shale gas. Okay, so this process is called as fracking or hydraulic fracturing. So you dig vertically down, then you dig horizontally, then you supply some hydraulic pressure, and from this hydraulic pressure the gas that is entrapped in these rocks, that will be released and it will come out from this hole, right? Now look at the 2014 question. It is about the coal bed methane and the shale gas. It is saying that coal bed methane is pure methane gas and shale gas is pure propane and butane. Common sense will tell you these statements are wrong. This is your earth. Whenever you are extracting anything from the earth, it will never be pure. Okay, in natural gas, from natural gas pockets, the natural gas that you're getting is maybe 95% methane, but still it is not pure. Okay, so nothing that you will get from the earth will be pure. So first statement is wrong. Second says India has abundant methane, coal bed methane, but no shale gas source have been found. This is wrong. See, shale gas is found in many places on the earth. Okay, problem is not about the availability of shale gas, problem is about its extraction. If there is natural gas here, you simply dig a hole and you will get the natural gas. But for shale gas, you have to dig a hole, then you have to dig horizontally, then you have to supply some hydraulic pressure. So it's a technologically challenging task. And it is not just technologically challenging, but also expensive. So shale gas has been discovered in India, in USA, in many places of the world. Problem is its extraction. In the last few years, USA's shale gas production has boomed. It has increased so much. Reason is this extraction process has become economical there. The cost has reduced. Therefore, USA is now extracting lots of shale gas. Another question of 2014. Guar gum or cluster bean is traditionally used in as an animal feed, but it is also used as what? It is used in extraction of shale gas. The hydraulic liquids that we supplied into the earth, okay, one of its components is the guar gum. Survey of India, some miscellaneous things now. Survey of India is the oldest scientific department of Government of India. Formed in 1767, its headquarters is at Dehradun. It comes under Ministry of Science and Technology. Geological Survey of India, 1851, headquartered in Kolkata, Ministry of Mines. Archaeological Survey of India, 1861, headquartered at Delhi, Ministry of Culture. In the last class, we studied about biodiversity hotspot. Now, do you know what are biodiversity cold spot? These are areas with high biodiversity but low threat value. For example, Amazon rainforest and boreal forest. Concept is quite simple. These are two areas. Both of these areas are species rich. They have wide variety of species. Both of them, let us say, house some species which are threatened. But this particular area is threatened by human activity. There are many plants and animals here, but human activity is causing threat to this area. So this area is called as biodiversity hot spot. However, this area, which also has many plants and animals, which also has some threatened species, but it is not threatened by any human activity. Since this area is not threatened by any human activity, we call it as cold spot. It is also very rich in biodiversity. Sustainable Ocean Economy for 2050. This report is published by World Resource Institute. Just like Sensex tracks the performance of top 30 companies of BSE. BSE is Bombay Stock Exchange. More than 5,000 companies trade on BSE. Of those, you select the top 30 companies. Cumulatively, whether the share price of these top 30 companies is going up or down, you are tracking this through a single number, and that single number is Sensex. Similarly, Indian Monsoon Index or Indian Rain Index is a single number that tracks the rainfall performance over India. It has been launched by NCDEX and it will get the data from SkyMet, not from IMD. Okay. Sustainable Renewables Risk Mitigation Initiative. It was earlier known as Solar Risk Mitigation Initiative. It's an initiative of World Bank and some other organizations like International Solar Alliance. Its main purpose is to help countries get funding for installing renewable energy projects. So we have already covered 4 pages. Now what is remaining is renewable energy, what is India's target, which sector has how much installed capacity, 2 different types of producing solar energy, some schemes of solar energy, difference between zero budget natural farming and organic farming, okay, about the sustainable agriculture and its questions that UPSC has asked, easy way to remember the difference between hydroponics, aquaponics and aeroponics, and many such things. So basically in this class what we are covering is we are going to finish the environment current affairs till January 2021. So we have basically covered page number 37, 38, 39 and 40. For the rest of the pages you can simply download the PDF and read yourself. PDF is freely available on this website allinclusiveias.com/prelims2021 or look in the description box of this video. Okay, so you can simply download the whole PDF and you can read that yourself. In case you want explanation video of that remaining pages also, then that is a part of our paid courses. So what are these paid courses? So most of the videos, most of the classes, some part of them is available freely on YouTube and some portion is part of paid course. To subscribe to this paid course, you have to make a payment for rupees 250, okay, for English videos like this one. So if you pay 250 rupees, you will get access to all the classes of environment current affairs for prelims 2021. Okay, all that paid portion you will get access to that. Okay, how to join it? Just open allinclusiveias.com/paid courses or look in the description box of this video. So if you are using Android mobile, then open the Google Play Store and download the mobile app by the name All Inclusive IAS. If you are using iPhone or iPad, then open the Apple App Store and download the application Class Plus and enter the organization code as MXLDF. Once your mobile app is installed, open the store at the bottom of the screen. After opening the store, click on the course you want to purchase, make the payment. After successful payment, again click on the store and open the course which you have purchased. If you want to see the videos on laptop, then look for a link in the description box of this video. Click on that link, register yourself, make the payment, and after making the payment, click on My Courses. Your videos will start there. Please note that you need to decide on which platform you want to see the videos. The platform on which you make the payment, you will get access to videos only on that platform. If you make payment on your Android app, then you will be able to see the videos only on your Android app and not on your iPhone or on the laptop. Similarly, if you make payment here in laptop, then you will be able to see videos only here. Then you will not be able to see the videos on your Android app. Okay. All this I'm talking about the videos, about the paid part. Please remember, PDFs are totally free. There is no cost for PDF. Okay, you can download PDF from this website. Whenever our new video will come, if you want its notification, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon.